Welcome to the Stay Paid podcast, where we help agents and entrepreneurs master the latest business trends to unlock growth and create a life of freedom. Brought to you by Reminder Media.
Welcome to Stay Paid, where marketing meets motivation. My name is Joshua Steik.
And I'm Luke Acree.
What do you think of that?
Dang, dude, that was a new opening. Kind of caught me by
the new
surprise.
tagline.
Yeah, I was like, Josh is going rogue here.
You know who came up with that?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Where marketing meets motivation.
Marketing meets motivation, and we've got some motivation today. Joining us, as always, Cody Smith and Stephen Acree from the Acree Brothers Realty Team, #1 real estate team in Lynchburg, Virginia. Welcome, gentlemen.
What's up, boys?
What up? You guys aren't very excited.
Slow day in Lynchburg.
Must be a slow month in January here for you guys.
And our special guest today is Shaun Peet. Shaun is the co-founder of Deck Leadership, a business consulting company based in Charlotte, North Carolina, that is looking to transform the modern workplace by uncovering opportunities for diversity, efficiency, culture, and kindness. His book, 12-Second Culture, draws upon his experience as a NASCAR pit crew coach on how to deal with the pressures of working in performance-driven, fast-paced profession. Shaun, welcome to Stay Paid.
Guys, thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here with you.
Shaun, man, we're excited to have you. Our VP of Corporate Sales heard you speak and said, you guys have got to talk to this guy. He found you extremely, insightful, but really motivating. I would love for you to kind of share your background. What's the whole pit crew, 12-second team and performance culture idea? Where did that come from? How'd you get started in that?
Yeah, I think it was born from an opportunity. I was accidentally found my way into NASCAR years ago and I was tapped to take over the worst pit crew department in NASCAR. Both teams outside the top 25, and we had half the budget to compete with the other teams. And I think a lot of times great design is a product of restriction, and our restriction was we had no money. So we literally had to weaponize our culture if we had any chance to compete with these other teams. And in 2 short years, we had both teams in the top 10, and by year 5, we had both in the top 5 with the best team in the sport.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and it starts with inspiring human brilliance, and you do that by valuing people. And we got very intentional about that, and built this thing that we're really proud of.
So now, then you translated that. So you did that for how many years? How many years were you in the pit crew?
So I was, I'm Canadian, came to the States to play hockey actually. And I was in a pit crew for 13 years. And then I took over this department about 10 years ago. So, So currently we're training up 5 groups to go race at the Daytona 500 in 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. So you're still doing it. Okay. I thought this was something. So you're still doing that. Then
yeah. The race cars are just on the other side of this wall right here.
Oh, dude, that's sick. So then how did you get into the whole motivational speaking business side, like the consulting stuff?
Yeah, completely by accident. They sent me up to Indianapolis to speak at the NFL Combine simply because the company I worked for had a big footprint in that city. Okay. So they sent me up there. I thought it was terrible. Turns out I got invited out to a bunch of NFL teams, and I was leaving the conference center that day, and this guy stops me and he said, "Hey, man, I took more notes in your 30 minutes than I did the first 2 days of this conference." And we get into a really great conversation. And at the end of it, I'm like, "Well, who are you with?" And he said, "I'm with the New England Patriots." And when you're in NASCAR, you don't think you have anything the world wants to hear. And it was this validation point, and I was like, well, maybe I do have something to say. And so wrote this book and started speaking. And honestly, guys, I'm somewhere between overconfidence and self-crushing imposter syndrome every day, because I'm in rooms and on stages where I'm like, are you serious? So it's been almost a surreal ride here.
We'll talk about your book, though. So 12-Second Culture, it's a unique kind of hook. I'm assuming it has something to do with the amount of time that it takes to run a pit stop?
It does. It does. So like a NASCAR pit crew, their job is to change 4 tires and put 2 cans of fuel. When we wrote the book in 12 seconds, we have since got that down to 8 seconds. So like these guys and girls that pit these race cars, they operate right on the verge of what's humanly possible. So the book talks about how we built the program. And then the second part of the book talks about how we sustain that. How do you have people show up every day and do something to operate right on the verge of what's humanly possible? And it goes back to that inspiring human brilliance piece.
Now, were you not concerned at all with other people taking your stuff? Like you say, you're just giving out your standards, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think because it was all hard won by us, right? And the one thing that I think that we do better than anybody else is we care about the people in this building. And I think as companies, what we forget sometimes, because the pace of business now, right? Like it's only getting faster. And I think a lot of times what we forget is to value people. And honestly, we were just purchased 3 years ago. This was Chip Ganassi Racing. It was bought by Justin Marks and is now Trackhouse Racing, which made every single one of our athletes a free agent. And I already told you we don't pay the most. Our teams were first and third, so the vultures were coming. We lost one person.
Wow.
And that's just it. Like these new kids that are coming, these kids are not, they are purpose over purse strings. You can't even incentivize them to be great, right? You have to inspire that. And we understood that early on and, decided to write about it, and companies started to hear it. And yeah, we're all over the world now. I was in Barcelona last week speaking, was in Christchurch late last year, and then all over the country.
That's something else. Can you walk us through like always the difficult thing for me is that you want to be a company that values people. Like, I don't think you would meet a business owner who would say, I devalue people. Well, maybe, but probably not. The problem is the practical execution of that.
Sure.
Like, where have you found execution wise, how you can do that day to day, whether it's process driven or systematic in your organization?
Yeah, let me give you two simple examples that work to great effect for us. So I think the whole thing is to catch people unaware, right? If you can catch these people in these areas of margin, right, you have a chance to create huge impact on them. So one of the things that we first did was something as simple as the after work phone call, right? As business owners, we all work long days, correct? So we're driving back to the house at 8:30 at night. I'm going to take the opportunity to call one of my athletes. And I'm just simply going to say, hey, look, I don't always get to say it, but your hard work doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for everything that you do for this company. Okay, first thing is you could be thinking about anything in the world and you're thinking about them. Okay, second thing is they're at home, they're probably with their spouse, right? And that person is going to ask them who's calling. And every call that they've ever received at home is probably bad news, especially from their boss, right?
Yeah.
What if you're the first boss that changes that narrative? Right? That hits people different. The other thing that we've used, I'm a student of great leadership. Remember Tom Osborne was the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, right? And what he won all the national championships. One of the things he had this is going back, he had a Rolodex on his desk. Remember those that had all the cards in them?
Oh, yeah.
And he had every important date in his players' lives, right? Companies, we all know each other's birthdays, right? He took it a step further. He would know your wife's birthday. He knew your parents' birthdays. He knew your anniversaries. He knew all of it, right? And he would take this card out to practice. So what we did is we took that model and we got all these important dates on our intake form, put them into our phones, and 5 minutes before I walk out to practice, I have 36 alpha males warming up. I can go put my hand on my jackman and say, hey, don't forget to call your mom. It's her birthday today.
Oh,
Right? No one's
sick.
ever done that for them before, right? We had a guy, we were late one day, and this guy was still carrying tires out back. And I asked the other coach, I'm like, why is Milan still here? And he's like, I don't know. So we go out back, and we're like, dude, you need to get out of here. It's your anniversary. And he goes, no, it's not. And we're like, yeah, it is. And this guy's wife's affectionately known as the warden, not a lady you want to disappoint, right? So we call down to Charlotte, get him dinner reservations. There's a florist on his way home. There's flowers waiting for him. He grabs the flowers, walks through the front door, pretends he remembers his anniversary. How do you think I get that kid the next day?
Yeah.
Lit up.
Yeah.
Lit up. And you know what the best piece of this for business owners? Costs $0.
Right.
It costs $0 to care about people. It's just, you have to have some intention wrapped around it. And if you can do that, you motivate people. And if you have motivated people coming through the front door of your office, you're going to do big things.
I hope that guy's wife knows the story already.
I don't know that she knows that we call her the warden. That's for sure.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to Stay Paid. Dude, that's crazy. But it makes so much sense, and it applies to the business world. Like Evelyn, my daughter, she just turned 4 on Sunday, and I got a text from our good buddy, Sean Carpenter. I hope you're listening to this. He's a listener of the podcast. He texted me and said, happy birthday today to little Evelyn. Hope she has a fun party, and maybe her daddy's Commanders will win today. And it's like 2 things. One is he knew it was my daughter's birthday. 2, he knows I'm a fan of the Washington Commanders, and he's a real estate agent and trainer, coach, speaker. But you go, yeah, that's a guy that his whole career has been built off referrals and relationships. and he's living it out in a simple way, just like that. And nobody else, texted me that or reached out on that because, it takes that intentionality of tracking the details. Do you guys, when you're onboarding somebody, do you get those details when you onboard them?
We do. We have a very highly curated first day experience here. Like our competitors, they recruit the SEC and the Big Ten and all these football conferences. Anybody in the country can come to Trackhouse Racing and try out. And like I said, we've hidden all the behaviors we want to see in the hiring process. So we ask you, if you want to try out here, we ask you to be here at 7:00. If you show up at 6:30, you get a check mark and you move on. If you show up at 7, you're gone. Okay, then you're going to watch 2.5 hours of NASCAR pit crew practice, right? Which is, you guys can imagine, there's lots of dirty work, greasy wheels. Okay, if you pick up a rag and jump into that work unprompted, it shows me that you have an ownership type mentality, right? You get a check mark and you move on. If you don't, you're gone. Okay, now you're going to come and join us on a Wednesday, which is the hardest workout of the week. And I'm not going to ask you to lift the most or jump the highest, right? I just want to see if you can get through it, because intestinal fortitude matters to our success, right? So we actually had a kid throw up in the middle of it, come back, finish. He thought he was done. We loved it, right? Check mark and move on. Now imagine this. You're on campus for 3 hours. You're exhausted from the workout. I have former NFL linebackers, guys that won the Super Bowl, All-American baseball players, All-American swimmers. And I'm just going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, Josh, break the group up for me, right? That's hard to do. Hands in the middle and say something that inspires these people that you're probably terrified of. It shows me how you handle pressure. Okay. If you get through that, I'm going to send you for lunch with 6 of our people, and they're going to kind of get a feel for you if they're a go or a no-go. And if they sign off on you, the last thing that's going to happen is you're going to come sit down with me. And what I'll do is I'll do one of two things. I'll either ball a piece of paper up and put it right in the middle of the door jamb. So when that person comes into the office, there's only 2 things they can do. They can either step over it or they can pick it up and throw it in the garbage.
Oh, okay.
Or I'll have a stack of boxes in the office and be like, shoot, I know we said 1 o'clock. I just got to get these up to HR. There's more boxes than I can carry. If they just sit there and they've navigated the rest of the day, they're gone. Right. And what's crazy, guys, is every time we've deviated off it, we've regretted it. So this took us about 4 or 5 years to get it dialed in. But that's the gauntlet you run the first day.
So do you guys have pretty high standards for your company too? Like once they become employees, or?
Yeah, you know what, our company is was really interesting. Like when Justin Marks bought this and it became Trackhouse Racing, it paralleled the time when NASCAR made this massive change, right? So instead of building cars in the shops here, we would get the entire sport gets them out of Indianapolis. Okay. And that necessitated us cutting 80 people out of the building. And the only thing that determined whether you stayed or went was what kind of experience you were, right? Like Cody, if I asked you this question, right? If I asked you, what kind of experience are you? How do you answer that?
What kind of experience am I?
Ball of
one
fun.
That's a hard worker, I guess. Yeah.
Ball of fun.
I have no idea how to answer that.
You have no idea. Steven, you want to take a shot at it?
So, what experience you are? Like,
what kind of experience?
Like,
what is it like to experience you?
As a fellow coworker, or what's the situation?
No, what is the experience of you? If I
Just
run
life.
into you right now, what am I feeling?
I would
answer that
say
for you.
You want to answer?
This is great.
I would say, experience to me, you would say someone that's an encourager, that helps other people move along, and also carries his own weight.
That's great, man. And that's the right answer. You want to know why? Because you had so much doubt at the start of it, right? Great leadership is rooted in humility, right? I asked the CEO of the biggest tire company in this country that question. His answer was, I'm the man. That's the wrong answer, right? But think about that for a second, right? As human beings, we all carry divine energy, and we're an experience whether we think we are or not. So what is that experience? Are you a kind experience, or are you a condescending experience? Are you a rushed experience, or are you a present experience? And what Marx understood was that you gravitate towards people that you enjoy working with. And when you do that, you get more done with less. So we had a crew chief with 7 wins. We had one with 0. We let go of the guy with 7 wins. We let go of our top sales guy. We let go of one of our best engineers, right? Because you can't win with brilliant jerks, right? The cost of teamwork is simply too high. And because of that, and that's the philosophy we've rode with, there's only 3 teams that have more trophies than us since our inception. Hendrick Racing, that has 525 employees. Penske Racing that has 380 employees, and Joe Gibbs that has 400 employees. We have 160.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Let's go.
crazy. And what's interesting is you're so committed to it, and the philosophy and the values that you're driving, that you're willing to get rid of the top winner on the team, the top engineer, the top salesperson, because you're so committed to the team, which then in myself, I go, that is the winning mentality. Just as the tire company guy said, I'm the man, and he believes I'm the best. You believe so much in the values of the team that commitment is what grounds people, or like what, because the devil's advocate would be, you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and a lot of people didn't like to play with him, but he won a ton of championships.
Yep.
And you go, is the difference there that he was so committed to winning, but that still was a grounding commitment, just like you're so committed to teamwork? You get what I'm saying? Like like, how do you parse that in your mind? Is it really the teamwork, or is it really your commitment to it that grounds everybody and gives purpose, if that makes sense?
No, it does. And I think what it boils down to is, do you amplify the people around you? Right? Think of the people you've worked with, like the brilliant jerks that you have worked with, and all they do is tamp down ideas, tell you stupid, make you feel small, all that stuff, right? What Jordan did is he elevated the people around him, right? That's what you want. And the problem is, so many of our businesses, we hold on to the brilliant jerk because what we stand to lose is measurable, right? We can look at their sales and be like, holy shoot, if I move off this person, I lose X, right? And that's measurable. But what you stand to gain could be 5X or 20X or 100X because this person has muted all these people around them, right? But that's conceptual. You can't bet on that. And that's why a lot of us, we're paralyzed by letting this person we know is destroying our company, and we hang on to him. I credit Justin Marks. I give a ton of credit. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. What do you give a ton of credit to Mark for?
I give a ton of credit to Justin Marks because there were millions of dollars on the line for him buying this team, and he let some exceptional people go. And that is just an absolute conviction that you want to do it this certain way.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I respect that so much, because I agree with you. You're essentially saying it's the person that is putting others down and not bringing the best out of them are the people that you have to get rid of. Like the Jordans in the world, the Bradys in the world, they might light you up. You might not like being around them for that time because they're basically making you puke your guts out, doing the, whole workout, but they elevated a better version of you.
And they cared about their teammates, right? There's a huge difference. The brilliant jerk cares about themselves and elevating themselves, their own sales, those guys. If you care about people, you give them the tough news, right? You challenge them. You make them the best version of yourselves. When I was done playing hockey, I wrote letters to my 4 hardest coaches that were a nightmare to play for, because what they did is they gave me the best shot to make the National Hockey League, right? I hated the coaches that told me I was good when I knew I wasn't, right? Because they allowed me to be mediocre. When I look back on life, like, one of those coaches was at my wedding, so it's funny. People think people aren't going to like us. The people you revere the most in your life are the ones that stepped out and tried to make you the best version of yourself.
Yeah, so well said.
And all your stuff was action based too. Like even your interview, like if they check a box or not, was all action based. So it's teamwork, but also showing it in action, not just saying it.
It is. And like I said, man, like great teams, great efforts are all born out of intention, right? And it's getting intentional about like what does winning here look like? What do we want that to look like? Who do we want to win with? And there's so many opportunities for that. Like when you guys come in, if you ever visit Trackhouse Racing, our second year in existence, we finished second in the championship. And we finished 325 feet behind Joey Logano at the final race in Phoenix.
Wow.
So instead of just letting that pass as lightning in a bottle, what we did is we came to the race shop. We painted a starting line. We measured out 325 feet. We did put a finish line. We marked 325 in the middle of the driveway. And then we painted the curbing the same color as the walls in Phoenix. So that every day that you drove into Trackhouse Racing, you were driving over the distance that separated you from what a lot of people in our building was a childhood dream.
That is sick.
Yeah. So it's right out this window. And that way, so the thing is you see how short that distance was between that dream of yours. So could you have worked a little bit harder? Could you have been a better experience? Could you have come up with a better idea that maybe served us, but you played small and you didn't bring it out into the world? So it challenges every day. It's like, how do we shorten that gap?
Yeah, that is so cool. You mentioned before we got on and started recording, you do kind of workshops, I guess, where you'll bring the race car. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We think we have one of the most unique team building events in the country. And it was born, we kept hearing companies and teams saying, we want to operate like a pit crew. And there was these corporate businesses saying that. And I was like, well, they don't know what that is. So what we did is we built this package, and we will literally travel the race car anywhere in the country. Like, we've done it in the Classic Car Club in Manhattan. We've done it in Dog Patch Studios in San Francisco. And what we'll do is we'll wrap the race car in your company colors. We'll come to the parking lot of your business. We'll bring the real athletes, like the guys that won the Super Bowl and the guys that are pitting the cars now. And we will teach your team how to operate like a pit crew. We'll put the guns and tires and wrenches, all that stuff in your hands. And we'll talk about how to build high-performing teams. And you guys you go basically heads up in a tournament style pit crew competition. It's pretty wild. We just
that's sick. That's awesome.
We just did one for Anheuser-Busch's ELT out in Nashville, and it was awesome, man. Those guys brought a ton of energy, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's sick. Because I'm sure that teaches you so much. What do you do with underperformers? Right? How do you tend to manage underperformers out of your organization or up? Because that's a really difficult task for people.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. Is we don't surprise them. Right? Like, there is a running tally in our building. So when you come in, every pit stop is filmed. And then we have this AI technology that literally breaks down to 100th of a second the 36 movements that you do in a pit stop. Okay. And then what that does is it puts that data up against every other person at your position in the shop. So you're ranked 1 through 12 every single Monday morning. So you know exactly where you are. And if you're 12th consistently, we're having a plan, we're with you trying to figure out, where your deficiencies are. And I think, for us, we don't surprise them. And the thing is, when there's problems, we don't look at the person, we look at the problem, right? I think what a lot of companies do wrong is, there's a poor performer or something goes off the wire and they associate with this person. And that's an emotional response, right? We look at the problem, not the person. Now, if the problem is tethered to the person over and over and over again, change your people, right? So it's up to us to get that person back to proficient. And then, what a lot of it happens, or what a lot of it boils down to, is the unseen hours, right? Like, our hardest working guys, the guys that regularly sit at the top of our board, the amount of unseen hours that they put in the shop is mind blowing.
That's it's so good. Change your people or change your people.
I love it. Shaun, thank you so much for coming on the episode today. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you, learn more about your company.
Yeah, please. Shaun Peet at ShaunPeet.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm at Trackhouse Racing. So yeah, please, if you're passionate about talking about this stuff, and if I can ever help you with anything, guys, if you ever want to come to a race, you let me know and we'll get you there.
Dude, that's amazing.
Appreciate it. Cody, Steven, thank you as always for joining.
Absolutely.
Anything before we close out here?
No, we reached out to us. I just had someone call the other day after our last podcast. So taking calls after everyone. Let us know if you need help with anything. And so phone number is 434-216-5306.
All right, so we just finished up with Shaun Peet.
Amazing.
The leadership guru. I want to talk about some action items that you guys can apply.
How cool is that like they treat it as a sport like this?
Yeah, it's wild.
They're athletes.
I thought NASCAR was just a drinking. Honestly, I didn't want to say it. I should have said that to him on the show, but yeah, that guy was jacked, man. He gave 68 stitches to that one guy. He can't
3-hour workouts.
Exactly. Here's what I was thinking. Say, what'd you say, Cody?
I thought he was in the military. Like,
yeah, seriously.
Man.
He did kind of remind you of the Jocko Willenick type demeanor, because we've had Jocko speak. He's the extreme ownership guy. The action items I see very, very practically, 2 action items right away. One is the intentionality of knowing the birthdays, anniversaries, life event dates, the special dates for the people that mean the most to you. So your team members, like you guys think of your team, Tim on your team, Noah, Carson, yourself. I think of you, Josh. I go, your birthday is in like the next month or 2, right? I don't know this.
So good.
All I could think about
was last month.
Cody's birthday.
It was last month. There you go. It was last month. So
was literally
like,
Yeah,
I don't
come
know,
on.
Cody, like, I don't know your birthday.
It's
So
so
that's
hard to
like-
stay disciplined with that. I used to do that because I remember listening to a podcast. I mean, this was 15 years ago, called Manager Tools, and they had a one-on-one sheet. And on your one-on-one sheet, you wrote down all of their significant other, their pets, the dates, and everything. And so it's easy to start. It's so hard to stay disciplined.
That's what I'm saying. It's like when he was saying that, I was like, I don't know any of you guys' birthdays. I guess I know yours, Steven, because you're
Do
my
you know
brother.
Steven's birthday?
January 15th, right?
Just have-
Yeah, it just
Okay, yeah,
happened.
it just happened. There you go. So knowing the life dates is insanely practical. That's an action item for you. The second is the visual representation of your goal. The visual representation of the miss or the visual representation of the desire. And if you think, we've had other people on the podcast, remember that one guy we interviewed where he wanted to be the dominant agent in this geo farm and he wasn't. So he printed out the face of the number one agent in that geo farm and he put it on his mirror every day. So he had to stare that competitive agent in the eye every day when he washed his face and brushed his teeth. This guy, Shaun, right, what does he do? He literally paints on the driveway the 325 feet that they lost by. So every day you have to drive over that so it becomes top of mind. So like the second action in my mind is, how are you putting a visual representation in front of you of the goal that you need to achieve every single day?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just the intentionality too, with remembering the dates as well, like the problem solving that comes after that. So he gave that story of his employee forgetting his anniversary date, and they were able to set up a date for him, to go out to dinner, flowers, all that good stuff. So it's the intentionality of using that date to actually solve,
To actually do
for
something.
your people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
I've
cool.
started to implement, I'm writing birthday cards now. Just started it this week after a suggestion from my mastermind group, where every employee is now going to get a personally written handwritten note. A
Really excited about it.
A birthday card. I wrote three
There's
of
gotta
them.
be a card every
I
day.
wrote three of them today.
I gotta write them
today.
That's
Exactly. So that is happening. Like, that's one thing I want to do. But knowing, like Sean Carpenter, I mentioned it on the show, right? Knowing my daughter's birthday. And him, it's different. Everybody might text me on my birthday or comment on Facebook. Nobody does it on my daughter's birthday but Sean. Immediate separator. And you go, that is the real gold mine to me, is going not just your person's birthday, but their people's special events. And like that to me is the key. So there you have it, guys. That is our wrap up of the show. We're going to start trying to do these little wrap ups to give you action items that are really intense.
We should bring in our listener questions maybe. To this,
that'd be a great idea.
Of the segment, we can you guys send in so many awesome questions. We want to make sure that we get some more.
Yep. We have some big things coming for this show.
Big things
that is going to blow you away. It's going to be the best show on the face of the planet. Giant, huge, big.
The best.
Now, so remember, get out there. Change lives. Remember the difference between top producers and mediocre producers. They take action. Take action on that today.